I wanted to apologize. I guess I've been having technical difficulties with live streaming because of Facebook. But nonetheless, we'll try it again for the third time. As I promised yesterday, I was going to go ahead and do a live stream. I might probably do a part 2 with respects to the information that I posted below in this live stream. So for those that want to follow me, I posted hyperlinks for all you guys to see the evidence. Let the evidence speak for itself. As I've been stating from the beginning, some of my information doesn't come out for some reason or another, or it doesn't continue to be exposed or move the information forward because of either political parties or a division within the movement. So it's up to you to educate every rancher that has problems with the BLM, the U.S. Forestry, and the Department of Fish and Wildlife. And then it's for you to go ahead and ask why those individuals do not continue to carry the message with regards to the evidence. So that's up to you, because you are the voice of this information. The information that we put out is for you to educate yourself and to educate others, and our ranchers and the political prisoners that are being affected. So it does not matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I'm going to prove to you today how our politicians, that's why they call them politicians, poly for many and ticks for blood-sucking tick. That's why it's called politicians. And you'll understand that these politicians are not looking out for the best interest of America, meaning we the people that pay their salary to represent us. So taxation without representation. Now, as I printed out most of the documents here, we're going to go one by one on these documents. As again, I posted these hyperlinks for everybody to follow. This one, Mark Amodie from Nevada. Let's start with this from WikiLeaks with respects to the Bundys. I made my notes. These notes will not be in a hyperlink. These documents are from WikiLeaks that validated our work. Now, I'm going to go ahead with respects to certain things that I highlighted with regards to the Bundys. Mark Amodie was the #1 fan for the Bundys. Not anymore. And I will prove it to you why no longer. And Representative Mark Amodie from Nevada is a Republican. Now, Mark Amodie was involved in H.R. 1484. That's House Resolution 1484 with regards to the United States Department of Agriculture and Department of Interiors without consideration Nevada interest in federal lands. That is Representative Mark Amodie. House Bill Resolution 2324, Small Lands Tracts Conveyancy Act, I apologize. That's HR 2324, Small Land Tracts Conveyancy Act. HR 1214, Land Disposal. That's HR 1214. HR 925, federal legislation relating to public lands and natural resource. That goes hand in hand with Senate Bill 472. Now, Senate Bill 472 and HR 925 with respect to federal legislation relating to public lands and natural resource goes hand in hand with Senate Bill 198 and 199. And what does Senate Bill S-198 and 198 is about? It's about the Gold Butte National Conservation Area Act. Let me repeat that again. Senate Bill 198 and 199 goes with the Gold Butte National Conservation Area Act. Again, goes hand in hand with Senate Bill 472 and HR 925. Now, Representative Mark Amodie was working with Senator Harry Reid, a Democrat. And who is Harry Reid going after? The Bundys. Now, let's see the other co-conspirator, a Republican named Senator Dean Heller from Nevada. Also worked with Harry Reid and Representative Mark Amodie in Senate Bill 198 and 199 and Senate Bill 472 and H.R. 925, federal legislative and relating to public lands and natural resource. Now, knowing that we have two Republicans, Senator Dean Heller and Representative Mark Amodie, and working with a Democrat criminal named Harry Reid, going against the Bundys for Bunkerville under the Gold Butte National Conservation Area Act. What affects Bunkerville? Right here. Do not take my word for it. These are my notes. Read those bills that are highlighted, that I just stated here, and you'll understand where these criminals stand with Harry Reid. Now, as I told you, it does not matter if you are a Republican or a Democrat. These criminals are working with Harry Reid. Don't take my word for it. Look at the bills. Now, this email, thanks to WikiLeaks, it says Hardy is still Clavine Bundy's #1 fan. But is he? Not according to Senate Bill 198 and 199, Senate Bill 472 and H.R. 925. Now, this is Amodie. A career politician and lobbyist, Mark Amodie declared, remember the word declared, that Clavin Bundy and his occultists don't speak for me on anything to do with public lands. Let me quote that, because that is quoted. Mark Amodie's comments were, "Don't speak for me anything to do with public lands." This is Mark Amodie's #1 fan with respect to the Bundys. According to the bills that I read, oh, no, he's not. So let's continue in this letter, in this document. But it's very different story for accidental Congressman Crescent Hardy, Bundy's close friend. I advise you, this is the first hyperlink for you guys to read and to continue this, thanks to WikiLeaks. And who was emailing to who? SBossNevadaDems.com to SBossNevadaDems.com to Miranda at DNC.org, and Amodie involved in this email. I didn't write this email. I did not fabricate this email. This email is there for every American to read, which includes also a gentleman by the name of Stuart Boss. You guys can go ahead and look up Stuart Boss and look up Mark Amodie and look at how Mark Amodie works with Harry Reid and Senator Dean Heller to steal your land, Nevada. So the people in Nevada, as I read the bills, here you go. Now, here's another email from WikiLeaks with regards now, not Bunkerville, but the Malheur Wildlife Refuge. Thanks to WikiLeaks. This is AmericanProgressAction.org to John Podesta. John Podesta tied to the Clinton Foundation and Uranium One. I will provide this evidence as I continue to read. After years of conflict, residents of Harney County, Oregon had finally begun to rebuild ties between ranchers and the federal government. Then the Bundys showed up. Oh, this is amazing. This is between John Podesta and the Progressive at AmericanProgressiveAction.org. How the Bundys stand has screwed over the ranchers. Did they? What about the 2012 Steens Mountain Act, in which Bill Clinton was part of, to steal the land on Steens Mountain through the Steens Mountain Act for the uranium? Don't take my word for it. Read the 2000 Steens Mountain Act. This is how they went around to go and take the land from the Hammonds and other ranchers. I didn't say that. These are the bills that they created to steal the land from the ranchers on Steens Mountain. Was Bill Clinton involved in the 2000 Steens Mountain Act? Absolutely. Without a doubt. Was Ron Wyden involved in the Steens Mountain Act? Absolutely. Without a doubt. What about Jeff Merkley? What about Greg Walden? Absolutely. 100% were involved in the Steens Mountain Act. So this email right here, there's a hyperlink for this document in which connects. Again, Uranium One, John Podesta, the Clinton Foundation, the Steens Mountain Act, and why they assassinated LaVoy, why the Bundys are wrongfully incarcerated with the political prisoners. Don't take my word for it. Go ahead and read it. And also, the Center for the American Progressive Action Fund. Go read that, and guess who funds the American Progressive Action Fund? George Soros, who's ties to Harry Reid, Ron Wyden, Jeff Merkley, the DNC. I didn't write this; they wrote that. I advise you to research it. Here is the document. It's a hyperlink in there for you to download and read. And also the United States Department of Interior. This is the United States Department of Interior. There's another hyperlink in which ties Oregon Energy LLC, which is Uranium One. If those that do not recall, when I came out back in April. So back in April, Oregon, prior to me coming out, this information was already being developed. They were already going after the uranium, yellow cake, in Steens Mountain, in which Bill Clinton was part in the Steens Mountain Act in 2000. In addition, his wife behind uranium, with the Clinton Foundation, behind Uranium One, and John Podesta with Russia. I didn't say this. I didn't write this. This is what the information is coming out of from the United States Department of Interior, the Bureau of Land Management, Uranium Energy. I didn't write this. They wrote this. And I am going back to some of the information that I had that's connected to all this. Let's go now to another letter from WikiLeaks. Right here. There's another hyperlink for this document. And I am going to read this partially read this document. And this is an email between Robbie Muck 2015 at gmail.com to John Podesta at gmail.com, and also includes Jay Benson at bsg.co.com, dated February 22 of 2015. And what does this state? I am definitely for making an example of a suspected leaker, whether or not we have any real basis for it. What do they mean by that? I advise you to elaborate in that quote. I advise you to go ahead, read that quote, and read it again, and then come and draw your own conclusion. As I would read here another part that I highlighted, and that says, I think we have to make an example now of people who have violated the trust of HRC and the rest of the team. What does that mean? Yes, Seth Ridge. Now, to cover that up, to cover all these documents, all this information that's coming out, what did they have to do? They had to appoint Robert Mueller and 13 attorneys that are connected to the Clinton Foundation. You remember Mueller hires 13 lawyers, including one who represented Hillary Clinton? Here's an article. That article, well, I'm going to prove this article right here and how accurate this article is. And who was Robert Mueller answering to? James Comey, and I will prove that. And it's all connected to the Clinton Foundation, uranium, and Russia. Robert Mueller, matter of fact, went to go give uranium to Russia. I didn't say that. There is a document from WikiLeaks that substantiates that. So this is why they had to appoint Mueller and 13 lawyers that are tied to the Clinton Foundation to skew their narrative. Mueller needs to recuse himself and disqualify himself from any hearing connected to the Clinton Foundation, Russia, and uranium, including the Bunkerville and the Malheur Wildlife Refuge. And here is, and this document, WikiLeaks, right here. And these are my notes. There are hyperlinks, and those hyperlinks do not have my notes. But I am going to read the letter from WikiLeaks. Now, HEU means highly enriched uranium. HEU was transferred to the U.S. custody and is being held at a secure Department of Energy facility in response to the Russian request. The Jordanian government authorized the United States to share a sample of the material with Russia for forensic analysis. Director Mueller previously planned to deliver the sample in April, reference A, meaning Exhibit A. But due to a scheduling conflict, the trip was canceled. Embassy Moscow legate informed the FSB prior to Mueller's intended April delivery and received confirmation that FSB would take custody of the sample of the director's plane to the director's plane landed. Estimated time, Moscow also informed Washington of the planned transfer of the U.S. placed a high priority in completing this transfer, reference B or Exhibit B, however you want to put it. I ask you this. Where did Mueller get that uranium? From which state did Robert Mueller get that uranium? And does this explain why they had to put Mueller to investigate Russia, John Podesta, the Clinton Foundation, and Donald Trump to cover up all this? Let's go with, so Mueller needs to basically cover his ass and James Comey, because they were behind giving uranium to Russia. This is all well documented on WikiLeaks letters. I didn't say this. This is coming from WikiLeaks, which has validated our research. Let me continue on. This is page 3 of 3. FBI Director Mueller plans to deliver the highly enriched uranium sample once he arrives to Moscow on September 21st. Post his request to convey information in paragraph 5 with regard to the chain of custody and to request details on Russian Federation plans for picking up the material. Material meaning uranium. Embassy is also requested to reconfirm the April 16 understanding from the FSB verbally that will have no problem with the Russian Ministry of Aviation concerning Mueller's September 21st flight clearance, meaning the uranium in which Mueller is carrying to Russia. That's what that means. And let's go read paragraph 5. Let's see what they meant on paragraph 5, meaning exhibit 5. And this is page 2 of 5. So let's go. Background. On April 16, the FSB verbally confirmed to Legate that he will have no problem with the Russian Ministry of Aviation concerning Mueller's flight, although we probably won't see paperwork until shortly before the trip. The FBI is requiring that the samples be turned over to a Russian law enforcement authority, as opposed to the intelligence services or technical authority, Rosenton, a representative from the responsible Russian law enforcement authority who will accept custody of the sample, meaning the high enriched uranium, must be identified and verified ahead of time. The individual will be required to have signature authority to accept the sample that's highly enriched uranium. Appropriate arrangements needed to making sure that transfer of material to conduct to the airport plane site upon arrival of the director's aircraft. Post should be also reminded that the GOR that there is a material about which the GOR gave the USG non-proliferation assurance in 2008 in a diplomatic note from February of 2008. And when was Barack Hussein Obama became president? 2008. And who was the director of the FBI at the time in 2008? James Comey. And who was under James Comey? Robert Mueller. So guess what, Mueller? Your ass needs to recuse yourself. Matter of fact, your ass needs to be prosecuted for treason next to James Comey, Loretta Lynch, and Barack Hussein Obama for giving the enemies and the Clinton Foundation, Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, giving our enemies uranium, highly enriched uranium. What do you think is going to happen when we go to war with Russia or any allies of Russia when they have highly enriched uranium? Who do you think is going to be using that highly enriched uranium on our military? That's a news flash. So to our military, stand down. to any unlawful orders and any wars against Russia, because these criminals, these political corrupt criminals, have given highly enriched uranium to our enemies. Newsflash. So for those that want to go to war with Russia, I advise you to go ahead and send your kids, your family, and anybody that agrees with you. So good luck on that war. This is why an ex-FBI agent came out. He came out on June 19, 2017, validating with regards to Robert Mueller and James Comey. This gentleman right here, there is a hyperlink with regards to his statement. And every single point he was accurate. But there's one that puts everything in together. This former agent stated, isn't it true that Robert Mueller, former director of the FBI and now special counsel to investigate the alleged collusion between Trump campaign and Russia, isn't it true that Mr. Mueller was the chief counsel at HSBC, the bank that was laundering money for the cartels? Robert Mueller. This is a former FBI agent going after Mueller and putting James Comey on check. And yet, why aren't these criminals dragged down in Washington, D.C. for treason? So who is Robert Mueller is covering up? James Comey, Russia, Uranium One, Calico Resource, Barrick Gold Inc., all these criminals that are tied to the Clinton Foundation and to John.podesta. And I'm going to prove that through campaign contributions. For those that are Republicans, those that think that corporations are hardcore Republicans, newsflash. I'm going to test your convictions. I am going to test your will on who you work for. For those middle-class Americans, hard-working class Americans, that you are working for one of these corporations, that you are a stand-up person, well, guess what? They're aiding and abetting these criminals. They are donating money to these criminals, and they're also part of our DOE, Department of Energy. So we as Americans are going to get a reality check. Doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, or if you think you're working for a corporation that's representing you, you are going to get a reality check today. Here you go. Another document from WikiLeaks. There's a hyperlink. I left my notes. Those notes will not be there. On February 20, and this is about James Comey now. On February 27, 2012, WikiLeaks began to publish the global intelligence files over 5 million emails from the Texas headquarters global intelligence company Stratford, but provides confidential intelligence services to large corporations such as Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, and other government agencies, including U.S. Department of Homeland Security and U.S. Marshals and U.S. Defense Intelligence agencies. What are they behind this? The military-industrial complex. And guess who was head of the military-industrial complex? James Comey. Didn't James Comey receive $300 and something million when he was with Lockheed Martin and donated to the Clinton Foundation? Lockheed Martin. So those diehard Republicans that hate the Clintons, that hate the Bushes, doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, the military-industrial at full effect at the time under James Comey. And who does James Comey giving uranium to? Russia. Military-industrial complex. Didn't John F. Kennedy spoke about this? What about Dwight Eisenhower? Didn't he talk about the military-industrial complex? Here you go, right here in our face. If you are a Republican, a die-hard core Republican, and you work for any of these corporations, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, Department of Homeland Security, and you're the Marines or U.S. Defense Intelligence, these criminals are providing uranium, U-235, U-238, to Russia. Oh, and by the way, these corporations are donating to John.podesta and the Clinton Foundation. Don't take my word for it. You research it, but the documents are here, and the hyperlinks are there. So let's read what this states. Kazakhstan claims that some uranium deals illegally shares of Uranium One, Oregon Energy LLC tied to Malheur Wildlife Refuge, Malheur County, Oregon County, Steens Mountain Act, whatever you want to call it, Uranium One, Oregon Energy LLC. So let me start over. Kazakhstan claims some uranium deals, illegal shares of Uranium One, took a beating today following news that the Kazakhstan had accused a key executive in the uranium industry of illegally selling deposits for foreign companies. At the close of the trading, uranium shares had plunged to $1.29 or 39.2% to $2 per share, with 47.69 million shares changing hands. The company acknowledged that Uranium One joint venture, that company bought pennies on the dollars connecting to the Malheur Wildlife Refuge. So I advise those residents at the Malheur Wildlife Refuge that to research joint venture buying pennies on the dollar at the Malheur Wildlife Refuge. Don't take my word for it, research it. The company acknowledged that Uranium One joint venture may be one of the matters that cashier authorities are investigating, and said that the cashier's assets were acquired in November 2005 from a group of cashier invested by Asia Energy, which began a subsidiary of Uranium One in April of 2000. That document's also there. Let me continue on. From Uranium One's point of view, the only thing they can do is operate with its business as usual, said D. Silva. There's a possibility that this could force a company to pursue an acquisition to try and diversify further away from Kazakhstan, just to eliminate the sting of any potential negative repercussions. Any potential negative repercussions. So they're going to go ahead and change the name, distance themselves, and go ahead from Uranium One to God knows what. Uranium One has the other operations in the United States. Where? Oregon, Harney County, or Malheur County, or the Malheur Wildlife. Okay, so let me read that again. Uranium One has other operations in the United States and South Africa. That document's also there, thanks to WikiLeaks. So, this document, again, validates all the research that's been done since April. Another document from WikiLeaks. Guthrie denies that it tried to influence Russian uranium deal with donations to the Clinton Foundation. Here you go. Ian Telfer denying suggestion that any donations to the charity foundation of former President Bill Clinton and his family to help win U.S. approval to sell uranium company to Russia. A pair of Canadian mining magnates. So, who's that Canadian company? Uranium One, Oregon Energy LLC. And who was assassinated for speaking out? LaVoy Finicum. Who is wrongfully incarcerated? The Bundys. Who's also wrongfully incarcerated? The political prisoners. So, a pair of Canadian mining magnates are denying suggesting that any donated to the charity foundation of former President Bill Clinton and his family to help win U.S. approval to sell uranium company to Russia. Frank Grisa said that allegations have nothing to do with him and that are merely an attempt to tear down presidential candidate Hillary Clinton and their elected campaign. Ian Telfer, meanwhile, said that he committed that funds before he ever realized that he would do the deal with the Russians. The New York Times reported on the donations in an explosive article this week that stories involves a former Canadian mining company called Uranium One, in which Gistra and Telfer were two of the key principals. In 2010, Uranium One began a process to sell itself to Rosatom, a state-controlled nuclear giant in Russia. Uranium One has assets in Kyrgyzstan. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Now you know why LaVoy was assassinated. Now you know why Ron Wyden called him a virus. Now you know why Harry Reid was after the Bundys in Bunkerville. Now do you know why Mark Amodie went ahead with Dean Holler and voted on Senate Bill S-198 and 199? Do you understand how these criminals have committed treason and how they're going ahead and violated the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Federalist Papers, and the Declaration of Independence? Do you see how these criminals are profiting for themselves and looking out for the best interests of themselves and not the American people, not including our military? For those that are in our military waving that red, white, and blue, you have criminals that are providing uranium to Russia. Highly enriched uranium. This is another one. This email right here, I highlighted. These are my comments. They're not in the hyperlink, but I went ahead and highlighted. Uranium One, Canadian-based uranium producing company listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Remember I said stocks, shares, bonds, stocks, all going through Wall Street and Main Street and every other market in Japan, and then including Toronto Stock Exchange, has a 70% interest in a joint venture with KAP that owns the Alkadan uranium mine. Joint venture, remember what I stated, bought lands at the Malheur Wildlife Refuge, pennies on the dollar, which you and I cannot buy, which is currently operated in the South Incan Uranium Project, which commenced pre-commercial production in 2007. Uranium One also has a 30% interest in a joint venture with KAP that is developing the Carson Uranium Project. On June 10, Paul Lewis Clark, Senior Vice President of Uranium One, told energy officials that he is concerned that the Prosecutor General investigation of Dicasica will call into question the legitimacy of the company mining license at the Acadella South Inca and Karash mining. These licenses were obtained from Castaprom by offshoring companies that sold them to Asia Energy, which Uranium One acquired in 2007. Uranium One shares price also has already fallen by more than 40% since the investigation began. We have something more than a statement to the press, said Clark. This is simply chit chat. We need official confirmation in writing from Sklonowski or Senra Karsnat. These names are hard to pronounce. That is licensed and are still valid. Clark, who warned energy officials that our conversation is being monitored, noted that Uranium One transitions will prove that many of the same people still in power. And who was that? Hillary Clinton, including Ministry of Defense denial. Well, Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. We have to remember that. Who was the Prime Minister in Castaprom, Prime President Klakowski, then the Minister of Energy and Minerals Resource. On June 15, Uranium One announced that it agreed to acquire 50% interest in Kazakhstan uranium mine from JSC, a Russian state-owned mining company. The Canadian company said that the purchase agreement gives ARSA 117 million common shares of Uranium One as a cash payment of $90 million. Uranium One president and chief executive said that the purchase agreement with AMRAS was never at risk, despite the ongoing investigation. The transition giving Uranium One exclusive rights to negotiate the purchase of ARSA 50% in uranium project, which is a pilot production and it's adjacent to the uranium mine. This gives a chance increase in economic of scale. The mines are close together, which makes it easier for us to manage our assets. This is them, and this is Uranium One. Also, we have to understand, and this is for Shell and BP, British Petroleum. You saw how Shell and BP were pressured and pushed out of lucrative projects in Russia, she said, and I would not be surprised if it decided to question the validity of the existing mining contracts. And it is quite successful with the contracts. And who was behind this? And basically preventing BP and Shell? The Clinton Foundation, because the Clintons ties to Uranium One. You understand? These are for BP and Shell. So if the BP and Shell decide to go after the Clinton Foundations, WikiLeaks. This is page 4 of 6. The statement is right there. So I advise anybody that's connected to Shell and BP, here it is. This is why you're not in Russia. And this is why Uranium One is. And this is why you were kicked out. So, thanks to the Clintons. Now we have validation, thanks to Chuck Grassley, Senator Chuck Grassley, a letter, 2 letters. One dated June 30, 2015, and another letter dated August 15 of 2016. Both letters to Loretta Lynch and the Attorney General. And what does these 2 letters talk about? The Clinton Foundation, Russia, Uranium One. I didn't write this. Senator Chuck Grassley wrote it. June 30, 2004 is 4 pages long. The hyperlink is there for every American to read, for every rancher to read, for any political prisoner to read, for the Bundys to read, for the Finicums to read, for any American that cares about our republic to read, for those that are in the military to read, because this affects you. So when your sons and daughters, your fathers and mothers are serving overseas, and by all means get blasted, and uranium is part of it, well, guess where they got it from? The Clinton Foundation. These 2 letters are there from Senator Chuck Grassley. This letter's 10 pages long for you to read. So those that are gun-ho, that want to go to war with Syria, with Russia, with North Korea, I advise you to start reading. Start educating yourself with the truth. Follow the evidence. Follow the money. If these 2 letters do not wake you up and you still want to go to war, so be it. But if you do, I advise you to take your sons and daughters with you. And for those that want to stand down, I advise you to stand down. Those are the letters. And guess, this is John.podesta. This hyperlink is also there. All these documents have been downloaded on a PDF file. So if any hyperlink disappears, let me know. These hyperlinks will be up because we have downloaded PDF files and we have the hard copies. John.podesta, lobbying, right here. Lobbyist, John.podesta registration. And who donated to John.podesta through the lobbying groups? So those hardcore conservative Republicans that care about our nation, those die-harding Americans that want to send your mothers and daughters to the military to defend so-and-so our freedoms, but not the best interest of the military-industrial complex. For those that stand down and allow the BLM, the Department of Fish and Wildlife, and the U.S. Forces to steal land from the ranchers because they want that uranium, well, look at all these corporations. There's a hyperlink for you to read every name in there that donated to John.podesta. Matter of fact, Uranium One is in here. Don't take my word for it, it's there. And I'm going to show you what page in that hyperlink. That page is on page 5 of 8. That's database, John.podesta Group 2012 donation. Uranium One right there. I didn't say that. And if John.podesta is a criminal and John.podesta is tied to child pedophilia and giving uranium to Russia through the Clinton Foundation and Uranium One, why are these corporations, these die-hard loving American corporations with die-hard conservatives working in these corporations are part of this, giving money to this criminal? Let's land. I'm going to name them all. Because now, we as Americans have to be informed, and now we have to have the audacity to stand up to these criminals. And if these agencies do not know or are not aware that the donations to John Podesta Group are affecting our country, well, you better start circulating this video and then get a reality check. Airlines Pilot Association, Alliance for Quality Nursing Home Care, American Assistance for Motor Vehicles Administration, American Chemistry Council, America for Clean Coal Electricity, American Museum of Natural History, Pharmaceutical Corporations, Association of American Medical College, BAE Systems, Baylor College of Medicine, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Boeing Corporation, BP, remember, John Podesta, through the Clinton Foundation, were part and kicked you out of Russia with Shell. Why are you donating to this criminal, John Podesta? Bristol Myers, Books Development Authority, Business Roundtable, Caesars Entertainment, Career Educational Corp, Sedell Entertainment Production, Child's National Medical Center, Child Medical. Isn't John Podesta part of child pedophilia? And if he's part of child pedophilia, why is the Children's National Medical Center donating to this criminal? Christian Science Committee Committee on Publications, City of Fargo, North Dakota, Coalition for Affordable Solar Energy. It's over $420 million they gave to the John Podesta Group. Crawford Group, Credit Suisse Group, DAC Management, DeVeta Healthcare Partners, Duke Energy, Energy Transfer Equity, European Center for a Modern Ukraine, Russia, Financial Industry Regulation Authority, Flex Tech Alliance, General Dynamics, General Electric, General Motors, Global Computer Enterprise, Golden Pass LNG Products, Google Inc., Great Houston Partnership, Guardian Realty Investors. Why Guardian Realty Investors? Didn't I tell you they need to get the land to get your minerals? And if you're a Russian, if you are a rancher or live near a monument, they will come after your lands and they will sell it to the corporations like Uranium One and Barrick Gold Inc. and Nevada Mining. This is why. How about Headwaters Inc., Higher Learning Commission, Independent Film and Television Alliance, ING Group, Institute of Scrap Recycling Industries, Investment Co. Institute, Johnson & Johnson. Isn't Johnson & Johnson part of our products for our children? Why are they donating to John Podesta, a pedophile? KKR Inc., KKR and Co., LG Electronics USA. I mean, we're talking about $100,000 donations. Livestrong, Lockheed Martin. Isn't Lockheed Martin tied to James Comey and Robert Mueller and the Clinton Foundation? LPC Property Management, Monster Energy Incorporated, National Assistance of Broadcasters, National Confectionery of Association, National Hispanic Council of Aging, National Mining Association, National Mining Association. To those ranchers out there, you better start reading this. To those Americans that have fathers and sons and mothers and daughters in the military, you better start reading this. Because guess what? Uranium does not discriminate. It affects your pancreas, your lung, and your liver. When U-235 and U-230 is used as a bomb. Don't take my word for it, research it. Matter of fact, I already posted a hyperlink about that. So let me continue on. Nuclear Energy Institute, the National Mining Association, Northrop Grumman, another one, Military Industrial Complex, Open Mobile Video Coalition, Oracle Corporation, Organic Trade Association, Partnership for Quality Home Health Care, Professional Service Council, Progressive Energy Service Corporation, Property Casualty Insurance Association / America, Quest Diagnostic, REC Silicone, Rio Tinto Group, CLM Corp, Solar City Inc., Solar Reserve, South Carolina Port Authorities, St. Jude Medical. St. Jude Medical, children. And what does John Podesta like? Children. Pedophilia. Syndicate AG, TE Connectivity, Tenet Healthcare, Textron Inc., Tiger Global Management, University of Miami, I can't believe this, University of South Carolina, I'm in shock, UPMC Healthcare System, Uranium One, URS Corp, U.S. Airways, U.S. Foods, U.S. Green Building Council, U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, U.S. Renewable Groups. Isn't Renewable Groups also in Harney County? Viability Inc., Viral Pharma Inc., Walmart Stores, We Are Golf, Wells Fargo. Isn't Wells Fargo also tied to the North Dakota? North Dakota pipeline? For those that don't want to read, I'm telling you. All this is donated to John Podesta in 2012. And we're not even hitting 2014. Another campaign contributions. So to those that are out there that saying why our political prisoners are still incarcerated, why the Bundys are still incarcerated, you know, and why hasn't any of the Bundys or the political prisoners subpoenaed James Comey, Robert Mueller, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Stephen E. Grassley, Wyden, Jeff Merkley, Greg Walden, who else is it? Harry Reid, Mark Amodie, the representative, Dan Heller. You guys are insane. Either you are really incompetent, not subpoenaing these criminals that I mentioned, or you just want to be incarcerated. Or you have incompetent attorneys. Because something does not make sense. To know the information that has been laid out all the way since I came out last year, and you guys are incarcerated. Either your attorneys are working for these criminals, or they are incompetent. Or you guys want to still be in jail, or are incompetent of the truth, or do not want to read about the information that I have laid out. I don't know what is what. This is why I distance myself from the Patriot movement. Because I do not know why and how this can continue. You cannot sit and tell me with a straight face that either you want to be incarcerated because your attorneys are incompetent or afraid to subpoena these criminals, or because you like being in jail. Something does not make sense. I am trying to wrap this up right behind my head. And there are people within this movement that don't want the truth to come out and will not continue to go ahead and move any of my videos forward. I do not know why. I do not understand why. These people do not continue to move the information that I provide forward. I still cannot wrap around my head how the attorneys cannot go through any of these documents that I read, or that I researched, or that others have helped me research. I cannot understand this. For those that can think, for those that can process the information, for those that want to read, investigate, and research, go through the hyperlinks. And then ask yourself, how can the Bundy still be incarcerated? How can the political prisoners still be incarcerated? And why aren't the Clintons incarcerated? Why isn't James Comey not incarcerated? Why isn't Ron Wyden not incarcerated? Why isn't Stephen E. Grassley not incarcerated? Why isn't Greg Walden not incarcerated? Why isn't Loretta Lynch not incarcerated? Why isn't John Podesta not incarcerated? Why isn't Cliff Bentz, Andy Bentz not incarcerated? Why isn't Anna J. Brown's, Anna Akins, and Gloria Novato not incarcerated? Stacey Beckerman not incarcerated. Sally Amanda Marshall not incarcerated. Anna J. Brown not incarcerated. Ellen Blumenauer not incarcerated. Ellen Rosenblum not incarcerated. Daniel P. Love not incarcerated. Harry Reid not incarcerated. George Soros, why isn't he not incarcerated? I can go on. Chad Cargis should be incarcerated. Neil Crone should be incarcerated. Gregory Crone should be incarcerated. Stephen Beverlin tied to Harry Reid, his son-in-law, should be incarcerated. All these criminals tied to all the money and to the minerals, specifically the minerals and the land grabbing. So something doesn't make sense. Either I'm really, really slow, like I always tell everybody at work, I'm slow, dumb, and brown. That's a good possibility. I'm really incompetent and don't understand what I'm reading. Or, what I'm stating is the truth, and these criminals are continuing to do what they do because we allow them. Because we sit back and do nothing. And our elected representatives have no longer represent the will of the people. So, again, for those die-hard conservatives, reality check. I just named you all the corporations that go ahead and donate to John Podesta, and when John Podesta tied to child pedophilia, the land grabbing with the BLM, Department of Fish and Wildlife, and the U.S. Forestry tied to Uranium One, Oregon Energy LLC, Barrick Gold Inc., Nevada Mining, and Russia. And why aren't the attorneys not reading this? Why isn't the attorneys bringing this to evidence? Why isn't anybody calling and saying, bring the evidence? Why isn't anybody subpoenaing for the evidence? This is mind-boggling. The evidence is there and nobody reads. I do not talk just to talk. I do not do. I rather go ahead and sit with my friends, drink beer at a bar than research. I'd rather go with my friends and co-workers to a football game. I'd rather go sit back, lounge, eat a hoagie, and watch all ESPN for the entire day. But because I have convictions, because my heart says, because God tells me to do what I'm doing, because I know what's happening in America. And this is about our children and our republic. I do not talk. I do not spin the facts. I am here to read the facts and for you guys to decipher what is the truth, because I provide the hyperlinks that I have read. I do not sit back and talk and talk and talk. I bring you the evidence. And why isn't the evidence being used? I don't want fame and I don't want fortune. Because if I wanted that, I would have charged for what I'm doing. This has been done by my own sweat, with my own resources. This is not tied to the Bundys, to the Finicums, or to any agency out there. This is strictly me and other researchers. Finding the truth. Looking at the facts. Who is right and who is wrong. I do not work for Fox News, Dennis Michael Lynch, who else is out there? Alex Jones, InfoWars. This is me bringing the evidence for you guys to read. Do not take my word for it. It's there for you to read. I am very blessed that Shauna Cox 3 times has taken her time to come and see the evidence and read the evidence. Spend time with me 1 or 2 days going through the evidence, willing to stand beside me to bring out the evidence because it's 100% true. and I provide the hyperlinks for you to read. So if anybody wants to question anything, read the evidence. Read the hyperlinks. You want to question my word? Because this is not me saying it. This is a document saying it. I am reading what the documents are telling me to read. And I didn't write that. I didn't fabricate that. I did not alter any of those documents. Those documents are there, word by word. All you got to do is click the hyperlink. If those hyperlinks disappear, I am more than willing to go ahead and send them in a PDF file. I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to read. I want you to empower yourself. Because this is not about me. This is about all those ranchers that are losing their land. This is not about our children. This is not about our military. This is about people going to jail wrongfully. Or that are incarcerated wrongfully. Stealing our property. Stealing your rights, your constitutional rights, your God-given rights, as stated by our founding fathers, in the Constitution, in the Bill of Rights, in the Declaration of Independence, in the Federalist Papers. So why aren't the lawyers using these documents? And I don't understand Congress. We have so many committees. I have not seen one committee arrest any of these criminals. The committee has the authority, the obligation, and the duty to arrest these criminals upon perjury. They have that power. Why aren't they arresting them? They're covering each other up because they are members of the American Bar Association. As I stated, Loretta Lynch is part of the American Bar Association. James Comey is part of the American Bar Association. Loretta Lynch, part of the American Bar Association. Barack Hussein Obama, part of the American Bar Association. Michelle Obama, part of the American Bar Association. Ron Wyden, part of the American Bar Association. Reid, part of the American Bar Association. Harry Reid, part of the American Bar Association. You understand? All these criminals, part of the American Bar Association, they're covering each other up. And look at the people in the committee. Aren't they members of the American Bar Association? Do you honestly think they're going to arrest one of the members from the American Bar Association? As I've been telling you, the American Bar Association has hijacked all three branches of government. And that's a fact. And I can prove it. That's the executive, the legislative, and the judicial branch. They have hijacked it. Because any of us would have committed perjury, we would have been arrested. And yet these criminals get to walk, dance, and laugh straight through those committees. Because nobody has the audacity to incarcerate them. The Sergeant of Arms has that duty, has the obligation to arrest these guys. So all these committees are a scam. They're a sham. It's ludicrous. And if they won't do it, I'll be happy to do it. Because I guarantee you I have a lot of patriots behind me that will be willing to help me get these criminals. So America, to those hard-working American ranchers, for your children, our children, for our country, and those that serve in the military, I advise you to circulate this. Because at the end of the day, it's your property and your life. How long are you willing to sit down and allow these criminals to dictate the direction of our nation is going. I myself need to know why these attorneys have not subpoenaed any of the criminals that I mentioned. Matter of fact, why hasn't any of these attorneys called for any of this evidence and submitted this evidence? I'm talking reference to the attorneys. Why has any of the attorneys not gone ahead and gone through these documents? Matter of fact, why hasn't any of these attorneys picked up the phone and called Senator Chuck Grassley? And let Chuck Grassley give you those documents. How about getting Chuck Grassley to testify with respect to this land grabbing? Not necessarily me, but Chuck Grassley, Senator Chuck Grassley from Iowa. I just can't wrap my head. I really don't know who is who anymore. I know the criminals to my right, but to my left, within the Patriot movement, I don't know who's who. But what I do know, that this evidence can release all the patriots. And those that want to state otherwise, by all means, go ahead, but read the documents. And if you don't want to read, don't blame me for your ignorance and incompetence. Because this is not about me. This is about your children and the direction of this country. So, to all those out there that participated in watching me introduce these documents with the help of others, I want to say thank you. And for those that are going to continue to circulate this video, I want to say thank you. And please, every rancher needs to see why their land is being taken and why we are going to war with countries that have uranium and who gave them the uranium. Because uranium is no joke. U-235 and U-238 does not discriminate. Once a bomb goes off that has uranium, it affects our water supply, affects the animals, and affects the food supply. And we have to eat, and we have to drink water, and we have to breathe. And it affects your lungs, your pancreas, and your liver. So those that are gun-ho to go into war with North Korea and Syria, or Russia, get a reality check. But I won't stop you. You want to go, go. And if you want to take your sons and children, by all means go. But I would advise you to have these criminal, dirty politicians to lead the way with their family. Because regardless if there's a draft or not, I will not go. I will stand down. And for those that want to stand down, I will stand down right beside you. And I will stand right beside you. Because we, right now, need a spiritual awakening. And if we don't have a spiritual awakening, we're in a serious trouble. Our nation is in serious trouble. So God bless everyone. And I want to say thank you.